Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat O. How was your weekend?
Very not bad.
Very not bad. Wonderful. Well, I know that you want to talk about that. It's going to be hard to talk about this without giving anything away, but how was Halloween Kills?
I dug the shit out of it. I really,
Did
really
you?
did. I'm not a fan of the Halloween franchise. It's definitely of the big three. If we talk about Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Halloween is at the way bottom of the list. Doesn't even come close. I'm much more of a Friday the Third, or I'm sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street type guy. That's the franchise I grew up on. That's the aesthetic that I like. Lots of nudity, lots of surreal, dream logic stuff. Kick-ass soundtrack. Halloween movies don't have a lot of titties. They're kind of
There's some.
eh, not they don't do it nearly as well as Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street do. Yeah, I never liked the Halloween movies. I've seen probably I didn't even see the one that came right before this one.
Oh, really? You didn't?
Yeah,
You didn't see that one?
no, I've seen. I saw the number six, the one with Paul Rudd. I saw that in the theater when I was a kid. I saw H2O in the theater. With Josh Hartnett and Jamie Lee Curtis. And then I saw the first Rob Zombie one, like a roommate got a bootleg of it. And then I found out that the cut that I saw wasn't even the right cut. Like there was a different cut or something. I did see Resurrection, which is like the found footage or like the webcam one.
Yeah.
And then when all those sucked, I mean, none of them are great. Like H2O and like the one before it with Paul Rudd weren't terrible, but it was just like, I don't know, whatever. But this I thoroughly enjoyed. I really, really did. It was brutal. It was entertaining enough. I walked into it not necessarily knowing what was happening. I mean, I knew the general story, but like I said, I hadn't seen Halloween 2018. Was able to pick up more or less what was going on and enjoyed it. I would have done the ending a little bit different. I would have ended it basically on the same note, but the final battle I probably would have shot differently. But other than that, like I dug it. I really did. What about
Yeah,
you?
I felt very much the same way, and I feel very much the same way. I'm also not a huge Halloween fan. I mean, yeah, it's classic or whatever, but like, it's just not. It's just like the body. There's not that much of a body count in all the movies. Like, it's a lot of
Right.
story, and it's kind of stupid.
And I love John Carpenter, but if I had to pick like my top five John Carpenter movies, Halloween would not be in there, and it would barely make
No,
the top 10. Yeah,
yeah, I agree with you.
yeah,
I don't think I would put Halloween in there either. And like I said, it's classic. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's very overhyped. And as a series in general, I mean, it's okay. It's just that if it's on, I'll put it on, but I never go out of my way to watch it anymore because I've seen it so many times, and maybe that's just it. I did see the 2018 version. Actually, I saw H2O at the drive-in as a kid. But I haven't watched it as an adult, and like I can't sit down and watch it as an adult. Like I've tried and I get bored. And I can't, as much as I love Jamie Lee Curtis and I love that they kind of went back to it, but it doesn't matter now because I have these movies. I like Halloween 2018 for what it was. But it's pretty forgettable. This one is not that way. I don't think. I don't think this one's forgettable at all. I think this is my favorite of the entire franchise, including the original. I feel like the entire series, the entire franchise, the only thing they've ever talked about when it comes to Michael Myers is basically how he's like this embodiment of evil, and I just never saw that. I mean, he just never seemed that way until this movie, and I appreciated the heck out of it. And so I've seen a lot of people complain about the plot, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't watch a slasher movie for the plot. And I watch it for the slashes, and there's lots of slashing. So it delivered. I was super excited. I mean, leaving the theater, I was super happy. I didn't give a shit about the plot. It didn't matter anyway. It moved so fast, But I am petitioning the world. If you've seen it, to create a prequel strictly based on the characters of Big John and Little John. I want to know their story. I want to know how they met. Like, I love these characters. I love them, and I want to know their story. How did you meet? How
I
did you
mean,
acquire the Myers house? What happened? Who are you? You know,
we could, I could at least write some fan fiction about their first
about
night,
Big John, Little John.
about their first night together, and it with a dinosaur or
That is
something.
not the same thing.
We have to include dinosaurs in this fucking prequel.
Oh god. But I liked it. I really enjoyed it. You know, it was a good time. So yeah.
Can I read? I just, you know what? I was not even planning on doing this as like a skit for the show, but like this one, somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook, and I might even unfriend them after this, but I usually let people say their piece. But this is what this guy wrote, and I just want to read part of it because
Hold on, is it spoiler free?
Yes, and if it's not, you know,
this one's hard not to spoil.
Well, I don't. I mean,
this one's really hard not to spoil.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what the spoiler is. Like, do you know that there's a third one? Like, this was part of a trilogy, so like, you know, there's another one. Like, I don't know. Well, okay, whatever.
I don't think it's so much that, you know, if Michael dies or not, because obviously it doesn't. It's about who else does.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, anyway, here's this guy's review, unsolicited, posted on Facebook, but I screen grabbed it and sent it to my friends. This was a terrible movie. I was bored out of my mind. Let's see. Pathetic dialogue, slow as heck, pointless scenes, lame kills, and woke crap up the wazoo. The whole Michael trying to kill Laurie gag is pretty old by now. This franchise needed a new concept or a fresh start in order to stay alive. The worst part is the writing, which I would so fucking disagree with. I haven't seen such a bad script in a long time. He should read one of mine. I'm not expecting a plot that will touch my soul, but I paid to see Michael kill. Instead, I got a bunch of old people trying to be superheroes. A 3 female generation of failures, and the saga of a gay couple's love nest. If I hear someone say Little John one more fucking time, I'm going to stab someone. Also, there is an insane scene of a mob confusing one short, frumpy Danny DeVito looking like lunatic for the Michael Myers. It's so ridiculous. It's like if you confuse Lizzo for Nicki Minaj. Not only you need glasses, but you are insane. By the way, Michael hates LGBTQs and old folks now. Instead of killing horny teenagers, Michael perfectly checks off his new 2021 Hollywood agenda list so he gets a theatrical release.
Wow.
Started to friend this person. Like, I was like, dude, like you're.
Well, you definitely need to. Like, nobody needs that fucking negativity in their life. Don't come on the internet and talk shit about Big John and or Little John, because I will come for you. Okay, first of all. Second of all, again, I went to go watch a slasher movie, and that's what I got. And if you're expecting more than that after the fucking Cult of the Thorn storyline,
exactly,
then you're a dumb shit. I mean, come on.
I think that's what helped me, is that was my entry point into the series, is watching Paul Rudd with a British accent as Tommy Doyle try to defeat Michael Myers with magic rocks. So, like, if that's where I come into Halloween, anything else from that is just it's just like whatever. So yeah, I don't know what kind of reverence people hold these franchises in. Like, I didn't like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So you know what I did? I went home.
Think everybody agrees with that.
Yeah, I just went home and I watched a new Nightmare, and Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and then Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Like, I love those movies, and like no matter what they do, it's not going to erase like how awesome the original series was, which wasn't even awesome all the time. You know, it
wasn't. As somebody that, you know, Freddy's my favorite. Like, I don't like Halloween 2. I don't like Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Really?
I don't like that one. No.
Well, you're not a closeted gay man, so you don't appreciate it the way
that's true. Yeah. So.
Trust me, I've danced around my bedroom with fucking Elton John sunglasses on, you know, singing into a brush before. We've all been there.
I think if you were closeted before, you're definitely not now. But
I'm just saying, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is definitely my favorite.
Well, no, I did not like that
2, 3, 4 is like my favorite run. You know, I'd have to honestly say New Nightmare might be my favorite just because of what it attempts. It swings for the fucking fences, man. I love that movie.
That was, and it did a good job. It did a really good job doing it. I like New Nightmare, but like I really liked Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, and I'm not a lot of people like that one, but it was so fucking corny.
The '90s one with Breckin Meyer,
Oh, I don't know who the
where he's
fuck
in a
people's
video
names
game
are.
on the
Yep,
comic book one. Yeah, yeah.
that one. No, the comic book one wasn't in that one. I don't think. I think that was in like
Five and
4 or
six.
5.
No, well, definitely wasn't four. I know two, three, four like the back of my hand. One I know pretty well, but I just don't revisit it enough. Five and six are the two that I'm least familiar with, and then
Okay.
New Nightmare I know pretty well too.
Yeah,
But
but the remake was shit. That was awful.
yeah,
But I agree. Freddy's definitely the better slash. I mean, come on now. It's creative. It's funny. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. How could you not like that over fucking anybody else? And Jason's okay, but it's all. You see one Friday the 13th movie, you've seen them all.
yeah.
Kills people at camp
Well, that was
until he goes to Manhattan, and then also until he goes to space. So,
you mean Vancouver? Yeah,
oh, I'm
that
sorry.
one I had seen Jason Goes to Hell in the theater, and that was my entry point in the series. So that was what I thought Friday the 13th movies were. And then, which is like a super stylized action movie. And then when I went back and I watched the actual series, I was very disappointed. Um,
Yeah.
because Jason Goes to Hell, that's just what I thought the tone was. That's what I thought the energy level was. And I really love that movie. And nope. That's not what the majority of the
Yeah,
franchise
the
is.
best one out of Friday the 13th is number 1, and then after that is number 3. Number 1's the best one because it wasn't really a horror movie, right? It had a big twist at the end, and so, that's what made it. But if you chances are you're not gonna be able to watch the first movie brand new with n no expectation whatsoever, you know what I mean? Now, we're so far removed from the first movie with Jason that you're not going to get that same aha moment that people got when they first saw that movie. But that's probably the first one, and then number 3 is the better one, and then I really don't give a shit about the rest. But anyway, horror movies. Um, if you want to hear more about horror movies, I'll be starting a horror movie podcast soon, so I'll let you guys know when that happens. Um,
Nice.
that's super exciting. I know, super exciting.
We're
That's definitely
poly.
gonna.
It's okay. I
I'll
I
get
give you my
started.
full blessing.
I don't know if I'm gonna. Oh, I'm breaking stuff at my house. I don't know if I'm gonna do it with another person or not. I think they're just gonna be kind of short and just kind of me talking about movies by myself. Just something easy I can do and put out there, and people seem to want to hear what I have to say about it. So I'll keep you guys
Sure.
in the loop on when that happens. But anyway, what else did you do with your weekend?
One more thing I want to talk about is Saturday we went and we saw Kiss. So that was a lot of fun. I
And did you kiss them?
No, they were very far away. Uh, Me and my son painted our faces. I gave him the option to. I didn't make him, but I said, "Look, this might be the last time that they tour or the last time that we see them, and I'm not going to make you paint your face, but if you don't, 10, 15 years from now, you might regret it. So, but I'll leave it up to you." And he was like, "All right, fine." So we painted our faces, and a bunch of weird Kiss fans came up and talked to us all night, and yeah, so that was
That's
it.
cool.
I definitely wanted to mention this though because I've only had our listeners reach out to me personally, like on Twitter, about two things: um, my love for trans porn and my love for Kiss. So I, people don't reach out to me to talk about like UFOs or the paranormal. It's
Lord.
always like, right? They're like, oh, you like chicks with dicks? Oh, you like Kiss? So I just wanted to give a shout out to my demographic and say, what's up, guys? Uh, you're cool too. And I took my kid to see Kiss. So there you go.
But did he enjoy himself? Did he have a good time? Was he into it?
Yeah, he dug it. And yeah.
Yeah, my kid isn't. She's not into the things that I'm into. So,
Well, you
like, I
got
don't know. I haven't taken her to a concert yet.
well, this was outdoors. We had bought lawn seats initially, and oh my god, I'll bring this up. We had bought lawn seats initially, and in a lot of these situations, like the concerts don't sell out, but they want
Right.
to fill the pavilion seats, so they'll kind of give away pavilion seats to people in the lawn. And I was buying our overpriced Kiss T-shirts while my wife was going to get the lawn chairs that we had rented to sit on the lawn. And someone from the venue saw her with my son, who had Paul Stanley makeup on, and gave us free pavilion upgrades. So we got to go and sit in the pavilion closer to the stage.
That's
And
cool.
which I'm totally glad we did. I don't know why at the age of 40 I'm still even considering buying fucking lawn seats. I'm just being cheap again. But we definitely were better off in the pavilion. And there was this chick in front of us that like must have been some kind of sex worker, which I am not passing judgment on, but like she had on like like garters and then panties and then like a leather like halter top with like cupcake boobs, like way too tight, and like her boobs were spilling on the top, and it was all like black leather and like chain. And when we're all sitting there, because they don't have an opening band, Kiss has this dude come out that like paints shit on stage. So like everybody's sitting for the opening act, right? And then, Kiss comes out and, or the lights go down and they say, the hottest, you wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss. Everyone jumps up, they kick into Detroit Rock City. And this chick jumps up, and for the first time, we're all seeing what she's wearing. And she is like directly in front of my son, like 3 rows in front. There's no one in like sitting in front of him, but there's people around us. And he goes, "Oh my god!"
Oh.
I posted a picture of it on my Twitter because my wife took a picture. He's like, "Look at that whore," and we were just all fucking laughing our asses off because he could not believe what he was fucking seeing. And I mean, I can remember being like in 8th grade and going to an auto show and seeing like the car girls for the first time, and it was the first time that I was ever around like a really hot woman in a bikini. Like you see pictures of them, but you're never like around them. You know what I mean? And like going to like the auto show and being like, "Oh my god, like she's right there. Like I could take a picture with her and stuff." And it was kind of like the same thing with him. Like I don't think he's ever seen anything like that, like real life in front of him.
Well,
She was.
I don't know what you mean because I'm not a prepubescent boy, but that's exciting. No, that's
It was very apropos
cool.
for a Kiss concert. I'll say that.
That's okay. Hey, that's all
Yeah.
right. I'm glad that it sounds like you guys had a really good time. So that sounds fun.
Yeah. So that was that.
That's
It was my
cool.
wife's birthday too. So happy birthday, Jill.
Oh, happy birthday, Jill! Wow, that's
That's
right.
it.
It was her birthday. I saw that. I've had a weird weekend myself. We had our Halloween festival in Halloween Town, Ohio. Basically, it's Fairborn, Ohio, and it's always a good time, and it was a good time. There was a lot less going on. They didn't do it last year, but my friend Cherish owns the Secret Chamber House of Oddities and Artwork right there on the main strip. She did do an event of sorts last year because it is her anniversary. The festival always falls during her anniversary weekend or week or whatever for opening her store. And so she had an event last year, but there was no festival. And usually the festival's huge and there's lots of people. Now there was lots of people and it was pretty big. But we went and it was a pretty good time. It was a good time. There were some performers there. There was this guy who, I don't know, he was making like, he was like parodying. He wasn't parodying. I can't say it. Parodying.
Pirouetting.
I can't say it.
Pirouetting.
When you make a parody of something.
Parodying.
Parodying. I can't say it. I don't know why. There was a guy making fucking synth music outside dressed as a fucking Elvis skeleton. It was pretty legit.
Okay.
And then my friends did they're part of this group called Sage Fire. They're fire dancers. They did their performance outside. It was pretty neat.
Oh, that's cool.
The highlight though of my weekend was that I acquired, this is gonna sound weird, but I acquired my first human remain this weekend.
Wow.
My
A
first
bone?
piece of person. Yep, I have one rib bone. I don't know anything about it. I don't know where it came from. I don't care. I don't know how old they were. It doesn't matter to me. I'm excited about it. No, human remains are fucking difficult to get a hold of. Like you don't just fucking come upon human remains, and if you do, like they're super expensive. Again, so my friend owns this shop, and she sells all kinds of stuff like that. And I walk in there, and she's like, "Oh, look at this," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" My weird little heart did a backflip. I was so excited. So I get this human rib, okay, and it was great. And I'm super stoked about it. And we leave, okay, and we leave. And I didn't drive my car, but we took my car. And so my friend Will was driving my car. And while we're driving home, the brakes went out on my car. And I don't know if it's related to the fact that I just took home a human rib I have no idea, but not just that. So like the brakes are going out on my car, and Will's attempting to get the car back on. They go completely out. It's getting fixed as we speak, but um, while he's driving my car, he also receives a phone call that his mother-in-law was carrying his child into his home and or whatever, and she tripped and fell on top of the baby. And
Whoa.
I was like, "What the fuck?" Like literally back to back.
Oh
So we
my
went there.
god.
The baby's fine. The mom,
Good.
she completely destroyed her wrist though. She had to get surgery on it and
Oh,
whatever. But it was just weird. I was like, "Holy shit, dude." And just all day I just felt so out of sorts and weird and not good. And even though I should have been having a great time, don't get me wrong, I had a great time at the festival, but it was just hard for me to get too excited about it. I've just been in this weird funk lately. But
yeah.
it was strange. So, like I said, I don't know if having this human bone is why, but I'm just gonna say that it's not. It's absolutely not that it's cursed or haunted or anything like that. So I'm excited about it. But that was pretty much my weekend. And then Sunday, I just fucking got drunk and watched King of the Hill.
Hey man, all right. My son started yo-yoing.
Uh huh.
So now like whenever he's doing it, I always like text my wife Bobby Hill pictures because it seems like such a Bobby Hill thing to do.
That's
Fucking yo-yo.
terrible.
Only if you think Bobby Hill is like a terrible character or something, and comparing your kid to that is like terrible. But
Well, that's true. I do really like Bobby Hill, but
right,
like sometimes you just gotta fucking just say fuck it and get drunk and watch King of the Hill, man. I mean,
yeah,
that's just
that's a
the
good
way it
time.
be. But anyway, so yeah, that was basically my weekend and my week. Like I said, I am gearing up for this horror podcast. I've got lots of fun things coming up. Crypticon's still going on. The weekend right before Thanksgiving, so about a month from now, actually, I think almost to date, a month from now. So that's super fucking exciting. Um, yeah. Do you have anything else to share about your weekend, or should I get into the news?
No, I'm gonna be at Game Hole this upcoming weekend, and the what is that? The 20 something to the 22nd through the 24th. Tobias Whalen's gonna be there. We'll be there unofficially. I'll be wearing or like we're not there like promoting our paranormal endeavors. We're gonna be there playing games like fucking dorks. But yeah, so after that, I am coming back, and it'll be all attention on Crypticon. But I have to get through Game Hole first. That's my one. I can only plan one outing to meet internet friends at a time. So we'll get through this weekend, and then I'll be all over that Crypticon shit. But I'm definitely stoked about that too. So
That's super exciting. I'm excited that you get to meet Toby.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That'll be neat. I don't know. We're gonna hook up on Saturday for a little bit and just see what we can see. And it'll be
Sure.
cool. I already know what I'm gonna be wearing. I got my on Wednesdays we talk weird shirt in the mail this week, and
Oh
I gotta
yeah.
say I didn't get the fanny pack yet, but I got the shirt. And I gotta say this. It's way better quality than the fucking Kiss shirt that I spent like 3 times as much on at the concert.
Oh, is that
So
right?
yes. So if you want high quality t-shirts, don't buy Kiss shirts. Buy on Wednesday we talk weird shirts. And those things, I can already tell this Kiss shirt's going to last me like 2 washes. I'm going to use it to wipe my dick off after sex, and that'll be the end of it. You know, uh, on Wednesday we talk weird shirts. Look like they can handle all kinds of fucking,
All the bodily fluids.
all kinds of weirdness. You know what I mean? Thing's going to have some tales to tell.
Well, that's
Uh,
what it's. I can't believe you didn't get the fanny pack yet. That's you bought them both together, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure I did. I almost want to go back now that I'm thinking of it. I almost want to go back and check my order because it was weird they didn't both come at once,
I mean,
right?
maybe it might be and it might not be. I mean, I guess I would check it, but I'm that kind of paranoid person. But,
Yeah, I'll,
but
I'll
still.
look into that. But
No, that's cool. I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm
so,
excited that you got it. I was actually I was going through my clothes yesterday. I've got two of the booby shirts, and I have one on Wednesdays we talk weird shirt, and I need to get a Jersey Devil. I need to just buy one, all of them. There should be actually new merch dropping very soon. Some very exciting stuff. So, I've been talking with a specific artist who's been making a lot of things in the way of design and stuff like that. So really exciting stuff coming up there. And then of course, I know I said that we're supposed to be debuting this hotline thing this week, but that was
Oh,
before
that's
like my
right.
that was before I had depression and stuff. So, but it's still there. It's still open. I still want you guys to call. And
I completely forgot about that.
do you have depression? Maybe you have depression and you want to tell us about it. Call us at 773-59-WEIRD. And
All right.
the offer's still on the table. We're still doing the damn thing. Like I said, life happens. Whatever. It's my show. I can do whatever I want. I can completely destroy the hotline. So you better get your fucking calls in before I do. I don't know. I think I'm threatening the fans now. Call us or else. Um, but no, really, share your spooky stories, share your theories about things, topic suggestions, things you want to hear us talk about. Maybe you want Pat to talk more about Kiss and chicks with dicks. I don't know.
Which
That's
I will.
what he will.
Lord knows I will.
Just let us know.
People are getting that shit for free around here these days. Speaking of scary stories, don't you have a something coming up this week?
Do I have something coming up
On
this week?
Thursday?
Oh yeah, that's right. See, I don't even know what's happening with my own life anymore. Thank you. Yeah, actually, on Thursday, what is that, the 21st? Yep, Thursday the 21st, I will be doing another CryptoCasters. We're going to be sharing some super spoopy tales, which if you like this episode, you'll definitely like that. I'm not sharing an episode from this episode here, over there. So I'm sharing something completely different, but we're just going to be talking about personal experiences that we've had with the paranormal or anything in particularly scary. It's actually a great panel. I know that the chicks from Paranormally Blonde are going to be on there. Of course, it's Greg from All the Weird that's hosting it. Greg Morley, he's great. So definitely check that out. You can find all the clubhouse information underneath my link tree. You can find my page directly. You can follow me. It'll notify you whenever I'm doing that. So super exciting. Love Clubhouse. I really do.
I might actually. I mean, I usually listen to those, but if I end up listening this Thursday, I may participate as well. Since anyone that listens to this show knows that I have an abundance, an embarrassment of spooky stories that have happened to me. So I'm sure I can dust one off.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that would be just fine. So, I mean, we'll all be there. But yeah, that's this Thursday, the 21st, October 21st. I think that's the only thing I really have to plug right now. I got a lot of stuff planned. I do have a lot of different shows that I'll be appearing on and things like that I definitely want you guys to check out. Check out my buddies over at the Bloody Bits Horror Show podcast, especially if you're excited about me doing podcasting about horror movies. That's what they do all the time, and I will be going back on the show very soon. But I talked about we did a show on Cannibal Holocaust, and people really seem to like it because you guys are sick.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I love you for it. So go check that out also. I think that's my last plug for the week. I don't really have like news, but I do have something that I wanted to discuss. A little hot take, little discussion here.
Sure.
Demi Lovato has been like all about aliens lately. Yeah, so you know where this is going.
Yeah,
And,
have you watched? Okay, I'm gonna let you do your thing.
no, I have not. I've not watched it. I've not. I'm not probably not going to be honest with you. But she recently came out and she is mad because she says that it's rude for us to call aliens because that's derogatory. We should call them ETs. Now, listen, I'm not sure who Demi Lovato thinks she is. I usually really like the girl. To be honest with you, I don't give a shit about many celebrities at all in general, and she's still one of them. But I've never had a reason to not like her before. But when you try to speak on behalf of somebody else's race or ethnicity or species, as a white person, like you are absolutely not supposed to do that. Like that is not okay. Like that's the most racist shit that you can possibly do. Like, so she comes out, she says that alien's derogatory because we use it to mean negative things. It was always a negative term, and we just need to kind of get rid of that one. Pat, what do you think about that?
She is so fucking hot. Like, crippling beauty. I
I'm over
first
here
saw her.
talking about being PC, and you're like, "Oh, boobies."
I first saw her on Will and Grace, and I had no idea who she was. And I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" And whoever I was with at the time was like, "That's Demi Lovato." I'm like, "I don't know who that is." And they were like, "Are you fucking whatever?" Whatever they called me at the time, I would say. But and I had to look her up because I had no idea who this woman was. Um, my God. My God, she is. I don't get goofy over celebrities, like attractive celebrities or anything like that. I wasn't someone that like grew up watching Baywatch and shit like that. She is one of the most attractive females alive on this planet today, and I say that in front of you and everyone that's listening. I don't know who you are that are listening right now, but chances are Demi Lovato is more attractive than you. I'm sorry. That being said, I don't like her new haircut, and I don't like this show. All right. I appreciate where she's coming from. I appreciate her interest in the subject, and I think it's nice whenever the paranormal, all we had for the longest time was Sammy Hagar when it came to rock stars endorsing aliens and all that stuff, right? The only thing we had was Sammy Hagar and his goofy fucking story from 1970. So having her get involved and claim to be an experiencer and this TV show, all good things, all things in the right direction. Um, but when I actually sat down to watch the show and it was edited and had the same style as like an episode of The Bachelor or something, it was very like goofy reality show. We're all going to go to Joshua Tree. We're like three friends on a trip, blah, blah. I don't know. That's when I feel like there might be a disconnect and I'm just too old to get it. Right. Like um, this is not sightings for this generation, right? My generation growing up, we had Unsolved Mysteries, we had sightings, we had shows like that, right? And this is not the equivalent of that. This is not geared towards me. This is geared towards 17-year-olds and 20-year-olds or something. Is it effective like that? Maybe. But I am the wrong motherfucker to ask. I have no idea. Um, so I'm a fan of her on Will and Grace. She was really hot. Um, this whole thing now, I just walk away from and say, I don't know. Now, with her wanting to pick fights about fucking words to use, once again, don't ask a fucking 40-year-old white guy to weigh in on that shit because you know what I'm going to fucking say. You know what I mean? I think this is like, no. Whatever, I'll tell you what, whatever the aliens say they want to be called, I'll call them. We'll leave it at that.
Right, I don't give a shit. Like,
when the aliens make a statement saying you can no longer call us aliens, you now have to refer to us as fucking whatever. I will try my best to remember that and get that out, and I'll probably fuck it up for about 18 months, but and then eventually I'll get used to it and I'll use the proper pronouns, and it'll be all good. But yeah, don't ask a 4-year-old white guy what he thinks about this fucking topic.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a weird thing, and I just like that is not the shit we need to be talking about.
You're
Like, let me
fighting
tell you
windmills.
something.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Right, let me tell you something. Advanced life doesn't give a shit about these. To them, this stuff is petty. Like, if we take the stories of like Indrid Cold as truth, what they say is like they don't fight about shit like this. Like they got over this a long time ago and they're way past that. So I mean, if the aliens are offended by being called aliens, then they need to say something. They need to come out and have a whole press conference and be like, we're aliens and we want to be called this. And I tell you what, nobody's gonna give a shit what they want to be called. They're just gonna be so it's either thrilled or spooked or terrified or whatever that there's aliens, nobody's gonna care. We'll call them whatever the fuck you want, but it was just ridiculous. I mean, why even say anything like that? It's just so weird.
Well, because she's trying to present herself as, listen, if she is to be believed, which I'm willing to believe her, that she had this experience, then her desire to go public about it, first of all, maybe she's a fucking CIA shill. I have no idea. Anytime, like this is weird positioning for her, right? But it's keeping her in the press. It's keeping her in the public spotlight. This could be just another pivot. You know what I mean? Like, remember when the Kardashians used to come out with iPhone apps or makeup lines every fucking 6 months, and they'd make another $100 million or something?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, this could just be another branding thing to get herself known as some kind of weird spiritual leader or something. I have no idea. Maybe she had a genuine experience and she's wrestling with it and she's doing it in the public eye. I can identify with that. I get that. She's not necessarily, she doesn't know how to process it. She doesn't know what to say, what to believe. But but she's got this platform and she wants to make the most of it. Look at everything Tom DeLonge did. You know what I mean? Where like he tried to, and I made the Sammy Hagar joke earlier. You know who Sammy Hagar is?
Yes.
He was the second singer for Van Halen.
Yep.
He, for the longest time, he's claimed to have alien experiences, and he has an abduction story in an autobiography that he released like in the '90s. He talks about an abduction experience he had in the '70s. So, like, I mean, there's been people over the years that have been famous or semi-famous and have had these stories and gone public with them. And, it's weird to see them try to get involved and lend their celebrity to it because it's such a hard thing to nail down in general. No one can really agree. If you look at like all the like, look, we can't even agree what to call the Texas chupacabra, right?
Yes,
like
that's true.
like it's
That's a good
hard
point.
it's hard to like it's like herding cats. It's hard to get like a movement to like head in one coherent direction and have everyone be on board with that. So whenever you get these people that like try to lend their celebrity status and lend their stuff to go do it, everyone's going to talk about how they're making a fucking mistake or they're doing it the wrong way. Look at Tom DeLonge. Now look at Demi Lovato. I don't know. I guess any attention she brings, any kind of reaching across the aisle that she does that turns more non-believers into believers, isn't that a positive thing? You know what I mean?
Mm,
If she does this goofy fucking show as badly edited and packaged as it is, and it changes the mind of 1,000 teenage girls to be more receptive to the idea of life outside of this human existence or whatever, isn't it a good thing?
I agree. I agree with that to a degree. It makes it difficult because we kind of have two different people in this community, and we've got the actual investigators and researchers, and then we have the entertainers, and sometimes you're both, and that's hard. And it's either you're leaning towards one side or you're leaning towards the other. And if you lean too far towards the wrong side of it, then you are hurting, the actual science behind it, right? And there's a lot of debate of over this a lot within this type of community, and with the Demi Lovato stuff. I mean, is her story genuine? I don't know, guys. I haven't even watched it. I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna tell you what I think about it because I don't know anything about it. But you're right. Is it exposure? Sure, sure. And some of those weird kids are going to grow up to be weird adults, and maybe they're going to dig a little bit deeper, and they're going to realize that story is total bullshit. But sometimes they just kind of follow whatever it is anybody has to say. Their idols have to say about it without actually doing the work. And then you got these morons going around making a mockery of the field, and that kind of hurts a little bit more because it kind of keeps it away from being taken seriously, and that's hard. But I don't know. I'm not the one that dictates it. I don't write the rules for the community, but I think a lot of people would agree with that. That it has
I think
both. It has both.
I think there's lots of damaging personalities in quote unquote the field. I think there's lots of different character types that are doing more harm than good. And they don't all come across they're not all, attractive 29-year-old girls that used to be on Barney and Friends. I don't think she's the worst thing in the world. I think that, if I mean, I don't want to pick out who I think public enemy number one is when it comes to this kind of shit. I think it's more likely the people that shut down ideas in general. It's the gatekeepers, the neckbeard gatekeepers that want to fucking, dox you because you say that Bigfoot's an angel or some shit. Like, I don't know, fucking who's on what side of what.
Yeah,
But
and they're
I just
terrible.
Yeah, I think anyone that's, if you're trying to shut down the sharing of ideas, then you are the enemy. I think if you have goofy ideas, then you're just goofy, and and anything that leads to discourse is not necessarily a bad thing, because in the end good ideas float to the top. But as long as you're facilitating conversation and you're talking and you're exchanging information and ideas, I think you're okay. I think it's when you get to the people that want to take the mic away from others. You know what I mean? I think those are the bad guys. Those are the ones it's like not everyone's a Nazi. Can't keep calling people Nazis unless they're fucking Nazis. We got to realize who the bad guys are and focus our sights on them, and not pick fights with everybody around us that's different or disagrees with what we think. Okay. And I don't think Demi Lovato is necessarily a Nazi. I don't think she's the bad guy here. Maybe I don't agree with the way she goes about things, and some of it's kind of fucking stupid and annoying, and like, once again, I'm 40, I'm old, you know what I mean, and she's definitely has a different demographic than that.
Sure.
And I guess I could appreciate that, and I could see the benefit in bringing that demographic to this side of the conversation. But I guess that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, at least it is getting some type of exposure. I know what you mean. I just feel like enough people believe in this kind of stuff that we're to the point now to where we don't have to just be like, who cares? People are talking about it. We don't have to be that way anymore. I think that as investigators now, it's our responsibility to really bring good, credible information to the table. To be like, okay, cool, you're looking at us, great. Here's why you should take us seriously. And that's our jobs. But then it really stops there. I mean, I don't give a shit. Watch whatever you want. I don't care. At the end of the day, I really don't care. Listen to whatever you want. Listen to whoever you want. Subscribe
as
to
long as it's
whatever
a
organization you want
podcast, make
to.
sure you listen
As
to the
long as
podcast.
you're listening to it's our podcast. And I don't know. What do you guys think about Demi Lovato's? What do you think about her show? Have you watched it? Have you? What do you think about the term aliens? Do you think that it's a good idea? You know what you can do about it? You can call 773-59 here.
Sure.
How's that for show hosting? But no, really, I mean, it's silly. I think it's silly on a personal level. I think it's really ridiculous that she's saying that about the term aliens. But then again, I mean, what the fuck do I know? I'm a white woman. I mean, I don't face racism, so
Right, there's that aspect of it
yeah,
too, where like I get that word has multiple meanings, and I don't know, whatever.
I call them ultra terrestrial anyway. So what the fuck does that matter if I think the alien's a bad word?
I just refer to them as the little doctors that live in the closet.
What?
The little doctors that live in the closet.
What? You had a weird childhood.
Because they come out of the closet and they examine you.
And they're doctors.
And they go back in the closet, the little blue doctors.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? We don't kink shame here. Whatever. That was really all I had. There hasn't been much going on in the Fortean world. We did just have 2 planets come out of retrograde, and that's why probably a lot of people were feeling like shit. And it's probably why you still feel like shit, because even though the planets go direct, doesn't mean that we feel it right away. So you got about another good week of feeling like shit. So
I was gonna say, when is this stuff over?
congratulations for making it that far. It just depends. Retrogrades aren't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, they're bad if you haven't been doing the work, but who of us is really doing the work? I mean, most
What's
of us
the work? What do I need to do? Shit, I didn't know that we had homework for this. What's
Yeah, I mean, doing the work is just your inner self going inside yourself and figuring out what things you need to fix and things like that. And you're going to keep having those lessons over and over again, and in a big way, universally, until you learn them. So get your shit together for the next retrograde, because it'll be bad if you don't. So that's just what it is. It's just a time of reflection. I mean, that's all it is. It's introspection. It's fine. But you still got about another week of this shit, so enjoy it. Because we're in the shadow of the retrograde, because time doesn't. Again, just because it goes direct doesn't mean it hits us right away. So, and it won't immediately. So there's a little random astrology lesson there for you guys.
I have no idea what the fuck you were talking about.
That's okay. It's fine. You know what? I don't have the spoons to explain it. Yeah, either know about it or you don't. So y'all can do that shit yourself.
The spoons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Why don't one of our listeners, message me to talk about something besides trans porn and Kiss for once, and clue me in on this astrology stuff. I would.
Explain well, good luck because it's really personal and it's not really something that you can be clued in on. It's like something that you have to kind of learn by yourself. I know
Yeah.
that's weird, but it makes sense once you dig into it. You got to break apart your own birth chart, figure out how your planets affect what and where exactly, and your aspects and your ratios and your houses and your. It's a lot. It's a whole ass thing. But start with
I have,
spoon theory, because apparently you've never heard that term before. But spoon theory is a thing, and it's really cool. Look up spoon theory, you guys. Um, if you don't know about it, it's an accurate way to basically describe doing things as somebody that's neurodivergent. So anyway, I'm gonna stop now.
oh, I know what you're talking about.
It's,
I've heard that before.
well, it's spoon theory, yeah.
Yeah,
And
because I've seen that on people's like Twitter profiles where it talks about spoons and shit, and it's like sometimes the spoon does this and sometimes the spoon does that, right?
no.
No, all right, never mind. Don't listen to me.
Like, just look up spoon theory. It's fine. Anyway, um, gosh, we're already so far into this episode without even telling a single spoopy story. What happened? What does this keep
That's
happening? It's okay. As you can tell from this title here, we're going to be discussing our own spooky stories that we grew up with. Different things. Maybe they're local. Maybe they're not. I believe a lot of these probably a lot of people think that a lot of the things they grow up with are simply local. And then when you kind of start digging into it as an adult, you find out that it's really not. Kind of everybody has their own version of this story. I hear that a lot as an adult. I'll hear about people talk about certain cryptids or something like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's only here." I was talking to somebody about the Dog Man, and somebody was like, "Well, Dog Man's just a Michigan it started in Michigan. It's a Michigan thing. Like it did not. The fucking Dog Man did not start in Michigan. If you really want to dig down the Dog Man rabbit hole, it started in Egypt with Anubis, but and probably even further than that. So Michigan does not own the Dog Man, but I think that that's interesting, and I'm excited to talk about some spooky stories. But Pat, you're a Chicago native, aren't you? You've lived in Chicago your whole life, haven't you?
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure you guys have a lot of scary stories. Why don't you go ahead and share one that you've always heard growing up?
So I have like a big. I probably formatted this wrong. I probably should talk about this in advance. So I kind of did a deep dive into a couple things that are all interconnected, but I guess the first one that we'll start talking about is Resurrection Mary. And that is a ghost story that is super super prevalent here in the Chicagoland area, to where like you could ask my mom, who, well, that's probably a bad example. You could ask most people's like parents if they've ever heard of it, or what their experience with Resurrection Mary is, and they'll not only know the story, but they might even claim to have a friend or know somebody who knows somebody who had an experience with her as well, right? And Resurrection Mary is a kind of a vanishing hitchhiker type story. It's a type of folklore that is known from many cultures since the 1930s. Several men driving northeast along Archer Avenue here in Chicago, between the Willowbrook Ballroom and Resurrection Cemetery, have reported picking up a young female hitchhiker. This young woman is dressed somewhat formally in a white party dress and is said to have light blonde hair and blue eyes. There's other reports that she's wearing a thin shawl, dancing shoes, carries a small clutch purse, and possibly she's very quiet. When the driver nears Resurrection Cemetery, the young woman asks to be let out, whereupon she disappears into the cemetery. And the story goes that Mary had spent the evening dancing with her boyfriend at the Willowbrook Ballroom, and at some point they got into an argument. She stormed out. As she ran away from the ballroom, she was hit by a hit and run driver on Archer Avenue and was killed, right? And her parents had found her the next day. They were grief stricken. They buried her at nearby Resurrection Cemetery wearing a beautiful white dancing dress and matching dancing shoes. The hit and run driver was never found. And this was back in the 30s, and over the years, even today, if you're driving down that stretch of road, Archer Avenue, people say that sometimes they see her on the side of the road and they'll stop and they'll let her in the car, or sometimes she'll just appear in the back seat while they're driving. And you had said that like sometimes you think that these urban legends are native to a specific area, but they actually are kind of more commonplace and spread out. I mean, this even makes mention of the vanishing hitchhiker type of ghost story. So obviously, there's elements of this that are repeated in other areas or whatever. But I know this one is very specific to us. And I actually the Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls mentioned her specifically by name in an episode not too long ago. So I'm pretty sure that this legend is known of outside of Chicago, but I can't really vouch to how popular it is outside of here because I live here. But I could say here it's very, very popular.
That's very interesting because I was curious. So while you're telling it, I'm looking it up, and we have the same story with the same name and everything. So that's really weird.
For in your area?
Yeah, Resurrection Mary, here it is.
And what's that say?
I mean, pretty much everything that you just said.
Well, it can't name the ballrooms and the cemeteries. I mean, that would be a red flag right there.
It sure does. Archer Avenue.
That's no. Fuck that. In Ohio?
In Ohio. Hold on. Stop. I'm not done yet. I'm reading about it. Resurrection Mary was known as Mary Brigavy. She was returning from O. Henry Ballroom. The ballroom. She was buried in Resurrection Cemetery. The ballroom, the name was later changed to Willowbrook Ballroom. Right. Yeah, exact same story, but Ohio.
No, that's absolutely not true.
I'm telling you.
I do not believe that. You're misreading something, or okay. No. Okay, so Google Resurrection Cemetery in what town in Ohio?
Let me look it up. Resurrection Cemetery. Hold on. Columbus, Ohio.
I don't fucking believe this for a second. This is insane. I'm telling you, this is a Chicago fucking story.
I'm telling you. Columbus, Ohio. It's part of a Catholic church. 9571 North High Street.
I see. Okay, I see that you have a Resurrection Cemetery, but if I do Resurrection Mary, Columbus, Ohio, nothing pops up.
Resurrection Cemetery. Well, because it's not technically Columbus, it's Lewis Center, it looks like. And I don't know, we probably have more than just the one from what I'm finding. Resurrection Cemetery, Resurrection, Catholic Cemetery. I think that we have a couple of them.
Yeah, it's a very common name for a cemetery.
It seems to be very popular. But so when you look up Resurrection Mary in Ohio, what's funny was that I wasn't looking for Resurrection Mary. I was just looking for hitchhiker stories. But yeah, no, it sure is. I mean, the story comes up. It comes up under Chicago too, but
dude, it's a Chicago story. I don't want to derail the whole episode by turning this into a 15-minute argument about whether or not it's native to Chicago or not. I invite the listeners to do the legwork yourself, but trust me, it's native.
You guys have Resurrection Mary in your state? Let us know. 773-59-WEIRD. But no, I actually just had I had a report, a paranormal report a couple of weeks ago, and it was about basically the same thing. I mean, it was about a hitchhiker. Somebody had shared a photo with me of this weird ghostly like person that was in Huber Heights, Ohio. They said that it was actually they were FaceTiming their friend, and when that happened, they saw this lady walking down the road at like 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, and they pulled over to try to talk to her, and she didn't speak to them. She just continued to walk. And they said that they saw the whole thing happening on FaceTime, plus they had the picture. I don't know if that's, a genuine story or just because, it's spooky season and people are just trying to have fun. But I think that would be a good place to insert this locally, I guess, as a local investigation. I'm still trying to figure out what road it was on. We're having a hard time kind of finding out, but not really, because in the picture you can see like road work signs and stuff. But then again, that's also most of Ohio. So I don't know. But yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Nice.
that's all I had to say about that. But we also have the faceless hitchhiker as well. Sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's a woman. Um, hitchhiking. There's multiple stories attached to this, kind of just across Ohio and different roads and things like that. So, um, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I don't know. Should I share one now?
Yeah.
Yeah, my turn. Okay, I'll go. Um, one that I have that's like super local, that I didn't know about until in my teens was the Witch's Tower, and or sometimes called Frankenstein's Castle. Now, my actual friends that listen to the show, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But it is located in Kettering, Ohio, right off of Patterson Boulevard, and it is just this weird concrete tower in the middle of this park. It's part of the Dayton Metro Park, so it's just kind of on this path, and it looks super creepy. But the story is that you'll see a woman standing on top of it, sometimes a ghostly woman who jumps off the top. Or if you park in front of it, somebody will try to come up and open up your car doors, and nobody's really there, or you'll hear disembodied footsteps, whatever. Anyway, all that stuff. The interesting thing about this is that somebody actually died there. So a couple went to the tower, and this tower, again, it's just a tower. I mean, it's like 2 stories, but inside of it is just a metal spiral staircase that goes up to the top, and there's no roof on it. There used to be a very long time ago. There used to be a roof on it, but there's not anymore. And so this young couple went to go escape a storm, so they went inside of the tower, and when they got there, um, they were on the stairwell and it was struck by lightning and the girl died. The guy lived, but the girl died, and that's 100% true. So now, of course, people say that the ghost of this girl haunts this place, and whatever. I mean, we go out there all the time just to take cool pictures and stuff, but it's whatever. So right up the street from that is also the Patterson statue. So it's a statue of, I don't know, some famous dead guy, and it's him on a horse, and it's huge. But it's not just a statue; it's a fountain. And I've heard rumors that allegedly the bodies of that guy and his horse are both inside of that statue. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. So that's
Like they
another.
bronze the corpses or something?
I don't know if they did that or just entombed them within it, because it's a big structure. Like I said, it's not just a statue of a horse. It's like a whole big thing, like a big. It's a big fountain. So I mean, there's doors to kind of get in and out of it. And so I just heard tell that maybe they're inside of there. So I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, maybe some of it was built with his ashes. I don't know. But yeah, Hills and Dales. That's what it's called, Hills and Dales Park. It is, and again, they're both on the same road on each other with each other. It's just an overall spooky place. So that's the Witch's Tower, Frankenstein's Castle. Realistically, it
Yeah.
was probably built by like a Boy Scout group or something. Like they really don't know. It's just a big watchtower. It's abandoned. Nobody uses it. Now it's all boarded up. There used to be a big door, and like I said, you can go inside, but it's boarded up. I've heard people say a lot that the spookiest thing about it is that it smells like piss on the inside. So there's that. It's littered with beer cans and piss.
Of course. Like
A lot of people have probably gotten pregnant there.
it's like my
So,
teenage bedroom, littered with beer cans and piss and fucking
a lot of people got pregnant there,
right.
I never got to go inside of it, but they had just sealed it off just a couple of years before, my time of going. But a lot of my older friends, like they've been inside. Um, my friends, they have a story where they saw these weird lights right outside of the tower, and they took off. And now some of them say that it was just police flashlights, and some of them say that it was probably something supernatural or weird. I don't know what it is, but anyway, that's what they were all fucked up on drugs and piss and beer cans. I don't know, but so that's my Witch's Tower story.
Nice.
Oh, there's that one.
Um, I wanted to kind of to double back and talk about the actual road itself that Resurrection Mary, my Resurrection Mary, not your bastard knockoff fucking Ohio Resurrection Mary. But my Resurrection Mary, as I stated, kind of travels up and down Archer Avenue. And that road itself has kind of a historical significance to the area. Um, it was the area that the street itself runs through is basically from downtown Chicago southwest into the suburbs, right? And it's like one of the original Chicago streets. And the reason is that it predates the city itself and was actually a trading route that Native Americans used to come in from the plains and bring whatever they were bringing to the Lake Michigan area, right? And I have a quote here that I'm going to read from Edward Shanahan, who's a Chicagoland paranormal researcher. One has to remember that Archer Avenue was an Native American trail, and much of Willow Springs at one time was very populated by the Native American tribes and known as Indian Village Number 23. What also adds to the possibility for the reason of this whole area's paranormal spiritual activity is that during the 1890s and early 1900s, Indian burial mounds and grave sites were discovered throughout the village and destroyed by early residents in the village. Those actions do not make spirits happy. North of Archer Avenue is the Des Plaines River, and shown on the deerskin map as Spring Lake, where fur trading would go on between Native Americans and the French traders who traveled the Des Plaines River. Less than a mile northeast of that, you find the Native American healing waters. This is just an example of the possibility of all the way the spirit activities in Willows. Okay, so the Willow Springs area itself is very haunted, and I'll get to that like in my next segment. But the other notice, like besides Archer Avenue, Willow Springs, Resurrection Cemetery, the O. Henry Ballroom, another thing that's located just a little bit further south and west on Archer Avenue is Argonne National Laboratory. And Argonne National Laboratory is the place where basically they built the first like 4 or 5 of make sure I get this right because otherwise I'm selling all the fuck I'm talking about. Turned out nuclear reactors in the 40s and 50s. So like the Chicago piles, like 1 through 4, all of the first nuclear reactors that were part of the Manhattan Project, they were tested and built in this area, Argonne National Labs on Archer Avenue, and then transported to UIC. And then some went to Iowa and some went to like Nevada, where they did like all the testing and stuff out there. And the woods surrounding Argonne National Lab are supposed to be haunted as fuck too. And I had a high school teacher that was he was our chemistry teacher. I didn't have him in my class, but my friends did. I had a different teacher, and he worked at Argonne. And he would tell us that, like, you know, people would always talk about seeing like floating orbs and stuff and in the woods at night, and that there was also a lot of reports of like spirit animals that they would see running around the woods. And they found out that some of that was actually because of all the crazy shit that's buried there. There was like a bunch of white deer that had mutated and were living in the area. And
Huh.
that these were like actual like physical like animals. Like there was nothing paranormal about them except they were like mutations. And that like a lot of the weird shit that people spotted, like when they would, oh, we saw phantom deer. No, they were just like mutant deer. And that eventually they had to come in and like sweep the area and like kill them all because they didn't want them fucking populating, and it was like just bad press and shit. So I always, whenever I see those correlations, this kind of goes back to like your Wright Patterson stuff, how like, you know that there's crazy scientific shit going on there, but then you also have all these reports of like ghosts and like stuff. But then you also know that the whole thing is built on on an Indian burial ground, right? So it's kind of like this Venn diagram of like it's a really fucking weird area. And that's where we'll leave it for now, and you can get to your next thing. Unless you have
Wow.
any questions or
No,
whatever.
no. I mean, that's absolutely not. You know, that's well, and that does sound very similar to like Right Pat. You know, of course, the big Right Pat story that we had all always grown up with was, you know, Hangar 18. It's Hangar 18, and that's where they stored the Roswell crash. And that's not really just a local thing, but locally, and like we talked about before with the episode, just generally being around, Wright Pat Air Force Base is that there's a lot of weird shit that goes on over there. A lot of people report living in the area and just weird electrical disturbances, and allegedly the museum itself is like super haunted, lots of ghost activity. One of the houses there is really haunted, like on the base, and all the technology and things like that. And I mean, just reach in and pull out whatever you want from that bag. And every story is there ever, and that's just something that we all just kind of grew up with knowing. It's just kind of common knowledge that, like, because it's not even just like stories. It's not like, oh, this happened and everybody's like, did that happen or did it not really happen? Everybody just kind of accepts that the base is a really weird place, and living around the base makes it really weird. I've got some people that swear that they fuck with the weather over there and all kinds of stuff. So that's another one. um
It is
I mean,
interesting how. Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
How easily we like adopt. Like we're very quick to adopt these stories. Like as much as like you would think your average person is uh biased towards being skeptical. If you look at the prevalence of these like urban legends and like local culture ghost stories, we're really not. Like we do accept a certain amount of weirdness into our daily lives, right? And when you talk about stuff like these stories that like everyone knew growing up, our parents told them, our grandparents told them, and we just kind of accepted them. It's interesting that we're not a more open-minded culture, you know.
That's true. I mean, I would definitely agree with that. For sure. Because like I said, a lot of it is just kind of, I mean, I don't know. Then again, like, I was always one of the weird kids anyway. So I hung out with other weird kids, and that's the kind of shit that we talk about. So, like, maybe it's not that normal. Like, maybe it's just fucking us weirdos, I don't know. I can't compare it to anything. And,
That's true.
that's just kind of how it is. When I was young, we went to because I'll be honest, when I was like a kid, like none of this shit affected me. I didn't know anything about ghosts and stuff like that. I didn't get into this shit until my preteens, and even then, like I didn't get into Ohio lore until like I was old enough to have friends that could drive, and it just wasn't my thing. I didn't sit around in my room and study for hours on end. I'm not, I wasn't that person, and until later in life, and so I didn't grow up with a lot of this stuff. But when I was younger, my mom took we went to this place. I had to do this school project or whatever. My mom took me and a friend to a local place called George Rogers Clark Park. And I don't really still know who George Rogers Clark is. I don't really know what the park itself is. I went once as an adult and I got really confused and we left. And but when we went and I was a kid, my mom, um, she was making it sound like the place was like super spooky, and she's like, it's scary down there. There's ghosts down there, and she was like telling this like horrifying tale. I was probably like 9 or 10, and she's like starting to like tell these like super scary stories to me, my friend, on the way up there, and she was like, but worst of all, she's like, there's something even worse down there, and nobody ever talks about it. She's like, but this is 100% true. She's like, now all those other stories, I don't know. I'm not sure if they were true or not. I can't tell you that, but this one, I can tell you for a fact because I've seen it with my own eyes. She's like, when you go down there, you have to watch out for the gay people. We were like, what? What? She's like,
Uh
yeah,
oh.
that's where the gay people hang out at, is at George Rogers Clark Park. And they sit around there and they make out and they do their stuff or whatever. So like, I don't know. We're
Oh,
like
that's
hanging
hot.
out. That's, my mom was like talking about the gay people hanging at the park. So we're like hanging out, we're like walking around the place. There's a bunch of old structures and things. I have no idea what this place is. I didn't intend on telling this story. So I probably should have probably should have looked that up sooner. But it's like getting dark outside, and like me and my friend are walking around, and like we heard some noise, like we heard somebody scream, like legit heard somebody scream, but they were probably just, I don't know, teenagers being
Getting
stupid
fucked in
adults,
the ass.
whatever. Yeah. And my mom stops and she's like, oh, it's the gay people. Like, we gotta get out of here. And so, we left. My mom doesn't hate gay people, by the way. I'm very gay and she knows this. But I'm mostly gay and she knows this. And anyway, George Rogers Clark Park, it's where the gay people hang out.
I got to admit, when we just got our when me and my friends like just got the ability to drive, like when we all turned 16, um, the one of the first things we did was go to the north side of Chicago. So if you're not from Chicago, the south side is like very blue collar working class. It's where I grew up. And the north side is way more urban, and I mean it's a lot of like apartments and like three flats, and it's where it's like where the punk bars are and like where Boys Town is and stuff like that. And it's just more artsy. I guess if you were to divide the city, you would say, oh, the south side is like blue collar working class and the north side is artsy transplants. A lot of people, like when they move to Chicago after college, if they're coming from Iowa or they're coming from Kansas or they're coming from Ohio or whatever, when you move to Chicago, you're not going to move to the south side. You're going to move to the north side. The north side has like L's in public transportation. The south side really doesn't. It's like family homes and like stuff like that. So the first thing we did when we could drive is we would go up to like where the punk stores were, the record stores were and shit, which was kind of like very adjacent to Boys Town. And I can remember being 16 years old and walking through Boys Town to get to like the alley or like Reckless Records or Threshold or something. And the level of excitement when you would like walk around and you would like walk past the store and they had a rainbow flag in the window and you're like, oh my God, like, there's gay people in there. And like you'd be like, all right, it's cool. Or like you would walk around and you would see like two dudes holding hands or something, and you'd be like, oh my God. But it was never it was very titillating and it was very exciting, but it wasn't like I was at the zoo. Like, oh my God, look at these people. Like, I hope they do something gay.
No, yeah, no, I mean, right, exactly. Especially when you're young and you're really starting to figure yourself out and
right.
things like that. It's like a new, especially back then. I mean, for you, it was like more like the early '90s. For me, it was more like the late '90s, early 2000s. It was definitely a different time. Yeah, it was definitely a different time.
But if someone had told us like, don't go to that park, there's gay people there, like we would have gone to that park. Like we would have 100% gone to that park and just to see what the gay people were going to do.
Like she was just trying to be funny, she wasn't trying to like be an asshole towards gay people. It was just
you want to talk about a different time. Okay, it's the early 90s. When you're talking about your mom's POV, she's coming from like what, like the fucking 70s and shit. Like they're completely different time. Where like, yes, I'm sure that woman has no hate in her heart, but she's still, they'll still say stuff like that. That's
we weren't genuinely afraid of gay people. Like I could,
of course not.
But but it was just it was like one of the first like kind of, like I said, she was building up all these spooky, scary stories, and then that was the fucking punchline. Well, there's also gay people there. It paid off, Mom. Thanks. I'm telling it fucking almost 20 or pretty much 20 years later on my podcast.
Right.
But I've always heard that place is really weird, but I don't know if that's just because I heard it from my mom or because I kind of just always knew it was, or because I thought it was weird because there's gay people. I don't know, but maybe I should.
Well, they tend to inhabit the shadows.
So, that's a strange place that we have. Another super spoopy place that is we kind of can't ignore, personally, is oh God, Ohio State Reformatory is the old Mansfield prison, and the biggest reason why we can't ignore it is because a lot of big movies were filmed there, like Shawshank Redemption was filmed there, and it's been featured on all these ghost hunting shows, and it's one of the most haunted places on the entire planet supposedly. It's just an old prison. They do open it. You can go in for tours. It's like $25, and you can go in and walk around yourself. Or they open it up for like a haunted attraction every year. They do have like a legit haunted house inside of the prison, which I guess is cool. I have not been yet, but I will be going by the end of this year, so that'll be nice. But not too far from it is also Akron. And Akron's weird because it has not Ohio State University, but Ohio University. And Ohio University used to be an insane asylum. And, they now call that portion the Ridges. So it was Ridges Insane Asylum. And there's like a super old cemetery there with unmarked graves. All kinds of fucked up shit happened, but pretty much everybody that's ever gone to school at Ohio University says that it's super fucking haunted. I mean, all kinds of. There's allegedly a room where somebody killed themselves in, or something, a dorm room or something, where they killed themselves in there, and like the wall and the floor still bleeds to this day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it's, super scary. It's really hard to get into. It's not hard to get onto the actual campus itself. It's the actual buildings that are difficult to get into. They want like a lot of fucking money to tour that place. They think they're hot shit, and that pisses me off. But you can still get to the ridges. You can hang out there. There's an observatory. If you keep following the road, if you stop at the ridges, which is the cemetery now, the ridges. If you stop at the ridges and you keep following that road up, you get to the observatory and you go up there and hang out. It's a really nice view. But in Akron, Ohio, or I guess right outside of it, I'm not entirely sure if it's in it or right outside, there's the Serpent Mound.
Yeah,
And, we've talked about this on the show before, kind of.
I want to see that. Yeah,
And it is really cool. It's just a big snake, that's been carved into the ground, but it's always been there. And
it's
nobody.
old as fuck. It predates most modern archaeology,
Right.
whatever, like theory. Like it goes back like 150,000 years, something
We
crazy
don't
like
even
that.
know
Yeah,
exactly who it belongs to. I mean, right now it belongs to, the indigenous Americans and the Native Americans, because we don't know if it's theirs or not. We just assume that it is because they were here before we were, and so therefore, and the snake was too. So, we're just assuming it's theirs. So they it's their land now and they own it. But it's a super cool place. Obviously, a lot of really high energy there, because it's just really old and it does have some type of meaning to it. And Ohio's not really a stranger to these kinds of mounds. We just call them the mounds, and they're just giant burial mounds that are all over the state, and we got multiple ones,
yeah.
and all these like super important people are stuck into these giant fucking hills, and those hills are literally just filled with skeletons.
I had a friend who actually I interviewed on my old podcast, and she was an archaeologist and she worked for like Motorola or AT&T or something. And her whole job was like when they put up these cell towers in these like rural areas is to do surveys and basically make sure that they're not building these cell towers through these burial mounds, because these burial mounds are all over the Midwest, right? So
Yeah,
if you're going to do like a string of cell towers or power lines or something that go across like 100 miles in the middle of Ohio, you really need someone to go out and check that whole entire area, because it's very likely that you could hit one of these things.
right.
And if you need to plan around it, because the indigenous people have a claim, those are their mounds.
Yeah,
And if anything is unearthed during the construction part, it's basically too late. The whole thing gets shut down. They come in, they own that land, and let's say you built 4 or 5 towers and area was tower number 6, right? Well, guess what, everything's fucked up now, and you got to hope that you can build around it. So it's a very important job that like a lot of companies spend a lot of money sending these people across the Midwest to check all these different areas, and they find these things all over the place.
oh
And
yeah.
it's yeah, it's I'm not acting like it's a nuisance for us. I'm glad these things exist,
Yeah,
and I'm glad that
right.
we're treating them with respect. But
You're paying
when you
somebody to do that. Yeah.
yeah, when you talk about us building up the infrastructure of this country, you got to remember there was people here that were here a lot longer than us that buried their dead all over the joke about the Midwest itself is one giant Indian burial ground. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? That's
yeah.
what it is.
I mean, as gross as that is, it's fucking true. I mean, and yeah, I mean, like I said, here we definitely have a rich history of things like that. And so, but Serpent Mound is something a little bit different. I don't know if anybody's buried in there. I don't think anybody's ever really checked, because then you'd have to dig it up, and everybody's kind of too scared to do that. And I don't blame them. Don't fucking do that. Don't bring that bad juju here.
Right.
But no, it's a really cool place. So just kind of that whole area right there. Like I said, you got Mansfield Prison, or Ohio State Reformatory, whatever you want to call it. You got the ridges over at Ohio University, and then you've got the fucking Serpent Mound, just kind of in that one area. But not just that. not too far from there is, of course, where because I have to bring it. I can't talk about Ohio lore and not talk about this, is where a majority of the Mothman sightings took place in Ohio, not just Point Pleasant. A lot of people don't realize this. There were more Mothman sightings in Ohio than there was West Virginia, and it was again, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It was a it was an Ohio journalist who coined the term the Mothman. So of course, that legend's kind of always been around. I'll be honest with you, it's not one that I necessarily grew up with exactly, but I feel like I probably heard more about the Mothman because I live in Ohio.
Hmm.
When I started working on this documentary, I realized that like people in other countries don't know who the fuck the Mothman is unless they're already like into this, goofy shit. Um, they don't know who that is. So they, people don't know who it is, but it started here. I mean, the Mothman stuff pretty much started in this area. So of course, there's that as, a local story. And then we also have Woodland Cemetery. Woodland Cemetery is a big one. It's in Dayton, Ohio. The reason why it's so important is because a lot of really important people are buried there. And it's huge. It's a huge cemetery. I mean, the Wright brothers are buried there, and again, who's anybody's fucking buried there in Ohio, and but it has its own spooky stories. There's this one grave in particular that a lot of people like to visit. It has its own kind of ghost story surrounding it because the headstone is actually a carving of a boy and his dog. This little boy drowned, and this is true. This little boy drowned, and his dog was so devastated that he died that the dog wouldn't leave his grave and stayed there until he died. And so they ended up commemorating the dog also with the boy, and built a statue there. And so there's a lot of sadness, kind of in the air in general. And so it's got tons of stories, disembodied voices and footsteps and shit
Hmm.
being thrown at you and demonic entities and just anything and everything that you can think of in a cemetery is that Woodland Cemetery. But it's a beautiful place. It's the highest point in Dayton, Ohio. So if you go to the top of it, it's also built. Actually, it's a giant mound itself. It's a huge hill, and if you go to the top of it, you can see all of Dayton, and it's a great sight. People get married and stuff on the top of of Woodland Cemetery because they've just made it so great. And you can see Woodland Cemetery, and pretty much most of my modeling pictures that I do is taken at Woodland. So it's a pretty popular spot. But I'll stop talking now. Pat, what else you got? Yeah, you named some ones that I really wanted to hear about.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. You were naming some stories that I didn't know anything about.
Which ones?
Like, who the fuck is Homie the Clown?
Homie the Clown. All right, let me finish up my Archer Avenue fucking trilogy here.
Okay.
All right, so so all of this stuff is kind of centered around the little village of Willow Springs, and my Willow Springs in this area, it's kind of famous for a couple different things. One of them is the Ashbury Coffee House, which I'm sure people that are from here that are listening that heard me mention, they go, "Oh, I know the Ashbury Coffee House." It was a real big hangout. It still is. It's been around for. I mean, it's been around. Had to be longer than I have, but as long as I know, since high school, I know kids have been hanging out there, and it's a coffee house, but they have open mic nights. There's a small venue upstairs where you can do a band can play, or you can put on an improv show or a comedy show or something like that. So people have like little events there and stuff. There's acoustic nights, there's open jam nights, open mic nights. Um, it's kind of like a hub for kids. Like coffee houses are very big in this neighborhood when I was growing up. They still are today. Pool halls in the '90s, but not really so much. I don't think it's cool to play pool as much as it used to be. But kids still, hang out at coffee houses, and that place is supposed to be haunted as fuck. Not too far from there is this place that me and my friends used to refer to as the upside down crucifix house. And this was a house that was in the woods in Willow Springs. It's a very woodsy area in general. And, you go down a couple side streets, you take a couple turns, and you find this giant house. It's a mansion. I later found out that it's known as the Dietrich Mansion, And I'll give you a history of that in a minute. But my understanding of it when I was growing up and we used to drive past it is that it was a house that it's built with like upside down crucifixes into um, the house's design, right? So
Okay.
like all of there's like pointed steeples by the windows, right? And they have like upside down crosses, right? And it's just kind of like built into the architecture a little bit. And it's not nothing anything like overtly like satanic. Like there's not like, you know, a giant inflatable devil coming out over the roof or anything. But there's all these like weird upside down crucifixes built into it. And we would drive past it and we would look at it. And everybody knew about this in the area, right? So like me and my friends used to like, you know, when we were in high school, we would like smoke joints and then drive past it and stuff like this. And if you didn't have anything to do on a Thursday night, especially like around Halloween time, you'd be like, let's go drive past the upside down crucifix house. And we get in the car and we drive out to Willow Springs, which is, you know, probably about 15 minutes away from where I grew up. And we would drive past it and that would be it. And then you would come home. Like there wasn't, you know, sometimes like some people would say they would get out and they would sneak up to it and, you know, stuff like that. But we never did. We just drove past it. And you could meet kids from other high schools and other groups of friends, and you would bring that place up. And a lot of times they would know about it too. And they would have their own stories. Right. And when I was out of high school, when I was probably like 19, 20, I was at a party of the girl I was dating at the time, her cousin. And we're sitting around, I don't know, just drinking and talking. And someone brings up the upside down crucifix house. And I'm, oh my God, we used to drive past there. And she tells me this story of her and her girlfriends. Now, these kids were like kind of like richer than us. It was out in the suburbs and they had like an in-ground pool and stuff. And they had a convertible, right? So this group of girls went to the upside down crucifix house to drive past it. And while they're driving past it and they stop and they're looking at it, a car comes out from the garage and starts following them. And they're driving away and the car is following them. And they had been smoking weed or whatever. And they're kind of driving and, you know, the car is just right behind them. And they get to the point where they pull up to the stoplight and the car pulls alongside them and there's an old man in the car and they're freaking out because they're in a fucking convertible. And I just remember this girl telling me that like she was like having like the worst panic attack in her life because she never realized how like when I've I don't have a lot of experience driving around in convertibles, but like, you know, it's kind of like a neat experience. Like the wind's blowing through your hair, the top's down, blah blah blah. But to be in that situation and to be at a stoplight in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night and you're fucking stoned off your ass and you're in this convertible and there's this car next to you with this creepy old guy who's like just following you. And she said it was like the worst. She's never been so scared in her whole entire life. And this guy basically followed the girls around and they didn't know what to do. This is kind of the time before cell phones too. So they're driving around and eventually they drove to a police station and they just pulled into the parking lot because they didn't know where else to go or what else to do. And the guy just kept going and doing like talking to more people and like doing a little bit of research on it. So the story that I had heard about this house growing up was that somebody, like a doctor, had bought it and then killed his family and gone away, and that his brother now lives there. And his brother chases people off because there's always people driving past the house wanting to take pictures of it or sneaking onto the property or doing whatever, right? And he also had like a lot of bicycles on the porch and shit too. Like it was the house was kind of in disrepair, but he kept like a lot of weird junk around. Like it had a very weird vibe to it, definitely. Besides all the fucking, you know, upside down crucifixes and shit. And the guy would go out of his way to scare. He would like just scare kids off if they ever got too close. And stories about him like pulling shotguns on people if you were like went up to it on foot or anything, or you went up during the day, he'd chase you off. And that if he saw you driving past or you were parked out front, he would get in his car and then come out and kind of tail you and scare you off. Now, I did some research online, and that's how I was able to find out that it's actually known as the Dietrich Mansion. And there's not a lot on it, but if you Google that, there's a YouTube video or Dietrich Mansion, Dietrick. There's YouTube videos of it where people go there and they take videos and they whatever. And a lot of people that are local say, oh, it's really not that scary. And the guy that lives in there, he's more or less okay. He's weird and he's a loner, but he's pleasant enough. And they also suggest that the reason that it's in the kind of weird, disheveled state of disrepair that it's in is because it was a stop on the Underground Railroad, and that it's got some kind of historical significance, and it's actually like a landmark, and it can't be modified or repaired or torn down or anything. Which I don't know. That's just one of the things I read online. I don't know how much water that holds, but yeah, I mean, as far as urban legends go or local legends, that was as kind of like innocuous as it is. That was a big part of my high school experience, was driving past this place, and I know that it was very popular with other kids, and yeah.
Very cool. Well, that sounds very similar to the church in Helltown that has upside down crosses on it. It's just a type of design, I don't think, obviously it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but yeah, there's a church design like that in Helltown, which is Boston, Ohio. Not, I mean, that's another one that a lot of people know and grew up with is, Helltown, of course. Which we talked about before. I talked about it at great length, but not necessarily one that I grew up with. I wasn't even aware that it existed until I was an adult. So I don't know. But I mean, I've heard of that before. But the chasing people out and stuff, that one sounds like the lady on Fudge Road here, which is a really another one that again I've told stories of plenty of times. Fucking weird place, super haunted road, super weird area. It's right in the middle of Dogman country here in Ohio, where the Butter Street werewolf lives, or the Beast of Butter Street, or whatever you want to call it. There's supposedly a Bigfoot in that area. There's satanic cults. I mean, everything is is around Fudge Road. So that's another one. But there's a lady that'll chase you off, and like legit, she will chase you off, and people just say she's sick of being bothered. But I've been chased off by the lady before. It's an old lady in a brown Cadillac. I don't even think she's alive anymore. We've tried to look into it, but it's hard to know if she's still around. Her house still sits on the end of Fudge Road, and or the beginning, depending on what side you start on. And we were just there a couple months ago, and we noticed that the light was on, but there were no Cadillacs in the driveway. So I'm pretty sure she died. So with it, does the legend die? I'm not sure if she's not out there chasing people off the road anymore. But
yeah, there's a lot of satanic cult activity stories too. I don't know if I'm sending it to the right Facebook Messenger account, because do you still have two Facebooks?
No.
Okay, good. That must be the right one. But one of those, I had sent you those Sun Times articles about like demonic, satanic activities in the woods around Chicago and O'Hare in the 80s.
Yeah.
There's another one. The one I sent you before, I think had more to do with the North Side woods, like O'Hare. There's one about the South Side Forest Preserves by me, and it mentions Willow Springs specifically, and talks about how it's a hotbed for satanic cult activity. Even though it's you got to read the story, because it's like classic, like hysteria, panic, because it talks about how police made this grisly discovery where they stumbled across a scene of like a satanic mass where there was altars and animal bones, and the trees were painted with blood. And then and then it says, like, in parentheses, although the blood was later found out to be costume makeup. It's like, well, then they weren't painted in blood now, were they? It's fake blood. And the fact that someone used fucking costume blood and like this weird shit they were doing, they were literally probably making a fucking movie, or
just talking with people. I mean, just because. Or I tell you what, they probably found. Does it mention that they found a rainbow flag in the area because it was obviously the gay people.
Yes.
It's just the gays
Doing their butthole worshiping.
doing their butt magic. It's fine. Not blood magic, butt magic.
Butt magic. That's awesome. The Homie the Clown thing, like this, I would love to hear listener feedback on this one, because I was always under the impression that this was one of those Midwest tall
let me
tales.
stop you for a second. So me and Pat talk about this episode, and Pat starts kind of just rattling off some local things, and he's like, "You guys have Homie." He's like, "You guys have Homie the Clown, right?" I was like, "What the fuck is Homie the Clown?" No, I know who Homie the Clown is.
Okay,
right? It's a character.
From In Living Color, yes.
Right. And so, but this is not what you were talking about.
Well, supposedly somebody was dressing up like Homie the Clown, trying to lure kids into a windowless white van. And I've never found any. It's always, if you Google it and you look it up. Like when I was growing up, I heard that this was happening, and that it was real. And when you go and Google it, it seems like it was this like urban legend that existed in Chicago and the surrounding areas for a couple. Like it never happened. They never caught anybody. It was never, you know what I mean? It was like leftover, because you got to remember, like when I was growing up, like Gacy wasn't that long ago.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it because of Gacy?
Right. Well, it's probably because, yeah, it's probably like the psychic reverberations from Gacy mixed with Homie the Clown, mixed with just your average Southside racism. But it's probably a combination of those things. But it never happened. But if you talk to people like my generation from like this area and you ask them about Homie the Clown, more likely than not, they'll be like, "Oh, I remember hearing about that." And it's not true. You know, it's like fact check, verified Snopes bullshit. But it seemed very real in the 90s.
Well, and like you said, it could have been like carryover from Gacy. Lauren Coleman wrote an amazing article about these weird kind of mass hysteria events that happen surrounding clowns every couple of years.
Yeah.
So hold on, stop. So this was before 2016, way before 2016. And then in 2016, he had kind of brought out that article again because we were having this weird rash of fucking clown sightings.
Yeah.
Like, what was up with that? Do you think people are actually seeing clowns?
Yeah, I think it, because it happened. I mean, that happened. The 2016 wave happened, I believe. I mean, I guess, this should be next week's fucking episode. But like, or we should talk about that. Because I remember seeing, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just fucking projecting. No, I feel like the 2016 wave happened, and I feel like that was, just people like copycats. You know what I mean? Because there's so many like Discordian pranksters, and like I feel like there's people that did that.
And Lauren Coleman talks about that. But again, he wrote this article before the 2016 clown gathering. That's a Juggalo thing, isn't it? Clown. What do we call that? What the fuck was that in 2016 where everybody was seeing clowns?
A viral marketing campaign for it.
Nobody talks about that shit anymore. But no, he mentioned that, kind of copycat, not just copycat people actually dressing up as clowns walking around town, but like other stuff, like people faking sightings and things like that. But that doesn't account for like groups of children going off into the woods and seeing groups of fucking clowns. Like, I remember there's towns of people that were being fucking chased with weapons by these clowns, and they were like trying to also chase down the armed clown, and like it was a big to do, and like it was crazy. It was fucking weird. It was a weird occurrence, and what was up with that shit? Maybe we will talk about that because I feel like nobody fucking talks about that.
It was okay. So I mean, if you Google it, like it's pretty much laid out pretty easily. I mean, we can still do the episode about it, but I mean, like it's not going to require a lot of investigation on our part. It's going to require Google foo. It's pretty much been explained. It was a group of people. It started in England, and then it moved to Green Bay, and then it happened in Chicago, and then it kind of spread. And initially it was three filmmakers doing viral marketing for a film that they were working on. And it was just one of those things that kind of captured the zeitgeist. And that's what happens when your marketing campaign is that fucking good. Everyone remembers the campaign, no one remembers the product.
True.
We remember the clowns, we don't remember what they were trying to sell us. But they were trying to sell us something. And it everyone responded to it because the It remake was coming out. But if you're asking us like the bigger question, like why do we have this reaction to clowns? I mean, I think that's worth looking at too. It might be because of the fakeness, because they have a painted smile on their face, and we know that that's not really what's underneath. It could be because of It. I was born in a world where It already existed, the Stephen King book. So I grew up in a world with John Wayne Gacy was already a thing, and It was already a thing. So when you ask me why do people have this evil preoccupation with clowns, it's like, well, because of those two fucking things. These huge cultural milestones that painted clowns as being potentially evil and malicious. Although I did have a friend that was a clown, and she was really fucking weird. She was
Okay.
really into clown sex, and we could do an episode on that if you ever want.
Oh, all right.
I know she's not
Real.
listening. She moved on, got married, and moved on with her life.
And
But,
maybe
oh
we
my
should
God.
bring her on the show and ask
So
her about her clown sex.
No. I'm sure she wouldn't do it because she thinks that clowns are maligned and get a bad name because she was a clown. But do you know that like when how like the circus travels around? Like I don't even know if they do the circus anymore, but like Ringling Brothers.
Well,
So
yeah,
they travel by train, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you remove like all these animals. There's not like a caravan of like pickup trucks or like semi trucks going through your neighborhood with elephants in the back and shit. They transport them all via train. So when the Ringling Brothers Circus comes to Chicago for 3 weeks, the train pulls in somewhere, some secluded train yard, stops, and then they have trucks meet them at the train yard and then move the stuff the short distance from the train yard to the venue, right? But the
Okay.
clowns and everyone and all the performers, they live on the train. That's where they'll live off of for the next couple of weeks while they're in town doing these performances. So the clown groupies figure out where they're staying, and they'll go to the train and try to meet the clown performers and then go on the train and have sex with all the clowns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I had no idea that
That
was a
sounds like a
thing.
fucking nightmare to me.
That sounds like a thing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
My husband. A lot of people don't know this. I don't really talk about it a lot. My husband was a carny. Like legit,
I
like he traveled around with the fucking. I'm not gonna name who it is, but yeah, I traveled around with Carnival, and I got to see the ins and outs and how that shit works. Let me tell you, a very toxic environment. Don't
yeah.
recommend it.
What can you share? I mean, I not even like anything like super like damaging or like gossipy, but like that's such a weird well, not I don't want to say weird, but like just a different existence that I would want to know everything about.
I don't. I mean, I guess I don't really know what to share about it. I mean, it's not very topical. Just like I said, I mean, kind of similar, even though they don't really, the carnivals don't travel via trains. They travel in like trucks and like
Cars, yeah, yeah.
basically, and so like they'll kind of take the like shipping containers and turn them into like dorms, and you pretty much have a room big enough with just not even a twin size bed in it, basically just a cot. And like they have to keep all their clothes like on the bed, or like they'll cover it, or like they'll get a sheet and they'll put all their clothes like underneath the sheet, and then like that's how they'll kind of contain it. Lots of drugs, lots of sex, having sex with all these random people. I don't know. I don't know what you want to know about it. If you are, most people like to work the games rather than the rides because you make money off the games. That's why they're always trying to push the games off of you because you make commission off that. But if you're going to work one of the rides, which again nobody wants to because then you have to deal with the repairs and you don't really make any extra money. You want to work on a ride that goes upside down because then you can go and pick up all the shit that falls out of people's pockets. They get phones and money, and I mean, so if you are going to work a ride, you're better off working a ride one of those upside down rides than you are working one of the games because you make a shit ton of money just picking the shit off the ground. So
So you like would join up with them somewhere, and then they go out, and then how long do they stay on the road for?
well, it just depends. Like you can join different ones because you can join ones that run there's different companies that you can work for and there's like certain ones that will do like they'll only do state fairs or whatever. And like that's like the big of the big because those are the biggest events. So like you could travel around the country or you can do ones that are only through one state. So they'll only do one portion of the states. So it really just depends. Sometimes you can just kind of hit them up when they're local, so you can kind of go around to the certain town, the little towns. Like here in Kettering, like I live in Kettering, but I live in Dayton pretty much because there's Dayton 15 minutes away, but there's Centerville 15 minutes away, and Huber Heights 20 minutes away, and Beaver Creek. So like all those will have like the same carnival will travel throughout it, so you can do it for like a month or not. It's very laid back. You don't even
Wow.
necessarily have to stay. You could just go work for the night and go back home if you're in the area. But you end up staying on the, in the shipping container if you travel with them, obviously. Or I mean, you could always rent your own room if you really want to. Most of them don't.
Well, yeah, because you're not driving your car behind this whole thing, right? I assume that you're riding in the trucks.
You can if you want to. Some of them do. Some of them get RVs, and that's how they travel.
Wow.
But they don't charge you rent or anything. So you've got pretty much all your regular living expenses paid, but like you could eat. I mean, you can eat all the fair food you want, or you can go to the local restaurants or whatever.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
it is interesting. It was kind of interesting learning about it, but yeah, my my ex husband was a carny, of course.
What did he do? Like what?
He worked on the rides.
Yeah.
And so but they would tear these things. Let me tell you something about fucking carnival rides or just fair rides. It's the same thing. The fair and the carnival are the same fucking thing. You're not getting better quality if you go to the fair. It's the same fucking people running the shit. And that shit is dangerous as fuck because these people build these things in a day.
Right.
And I think people don't really realize that. Like you don't fucking park your shit. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them traveling before. They're all part of like a trailer. Basically, all the rides are a part of a
Right.
trailer. And
No,
then
no, they set it up if you're for the people from Chicago, if you're taking 57 South right off 119th Street, there's like a frontage road where they always set up the carnival, and
right.
it's there all the fucking time in the summer. It's got to be there 3 4 times in the summer, and you'll see them the day before they set up. They'll all be parked there. All the shit will be off to the side, and then you see the way that it like kind of like it turns into like it's like a transformer where like the trailers open up into these rides and everything kind of spins over and opens up and then boom, and then it's there, and then you can see how they pack it back up and they travel again. So
Well,
that
it's
that
not, yeah. There's like a big piece. There's like one big solid foundational piece. That's why they all have wheels on underneath them because they
right,
just hitch them and travel. But it's like one big solid piece. So then, like, you open the actual container itself, and then there's all these teeny tiny pieces that they have to put together. And these people that you're trusting to put together, it ain't shit and it ain't nobody. It's literally people walking up from off the fucking street going, "Hey, pay me $50 and I'll help you put this together because I need to go buy my fix real quick." And that's what they do. These aren't trained
wow,
professionals. These are just
no, of course
anybody and
not.
everybody. They don't give a fuck who you are. If you're willing to work, they'll put you to work. And they're going to pay you shit for doing it too. So, that's what they'll do. And so, but when you're a ride operator, it's a little bit different. So you're not totally responsible for tearing your shit down. Again, it takes a team of people sometimes. Some of the stuff you can't you can't tear down by yourself, first of all. None of it you can. But it is fun to kind of watch them. I mean, try to do that. Try to catch a carnival. If you can't catch it at the beginning when they're putting the shit up, wait until the end. Catch it at the end. The very last night, that night, they'll tear the shit down and you'll see it. It's pretty cool to see a carousel like in pieces on the ground. Like it's really neat. It's really neat to watch a bunch of dudes climb fucking 20 feet into the air on a boat ride and watch them tear it down. Like it's dangerous. They don't have the harnesses and shit. They just climb up there and do it. Like,
Man,
I don't care, and so it is fascinating. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, these aren't built by professionals. They're just thrown together. You better figure that shit out while you're right there. You want to get your money for the night, you better do it.
did you ever
So
travel with them?
no, no,
No.
he didn't travel. By the time we were together, he didn't travel. Really, I was pulling him out of it when we were, getting together, and So I got the tail end of it. But his best friend stayed with them. I think he still fucking does. I don't know if he does or not. But he'll go with them. He would go with them every summer and travel around with them. He stayed with it for a long time, so we were familiar because sometimes he would go, like they'd be in town, and he would go and help tear down the ride or put up the ride, and make his $50 for the night or whatever. So
Did you meet him at the carnival?
no,
Oh, all right.
no, I didn't mean at the carnival.
I was going to say if you seduced him away from that lifestyle,
No,
that would be.
I don't think
You
I'm
pulled him
that good.
away. You're like,
I
no,
might have.
don't do the duck game.
I think he was just done with it. Honestly,
You can only sit there and run the gravitron for so long before you're.
before you're done with it. No, they're all a bunch of whores. I mean, that's another thing. You don't want to sleep in a fucking shipping container, so you'll meet somebody random at the fucking carnival, and you go home with them that night when you get off work.
Yeah.
Or you'll go hang out in the local bar and meet someone there and have them take you home. I mean, you're pretty much a nomad. So, which is fine if you're into that kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that personally, I couldn't stand hanging out with a lot of those people.
A lot of different personalities, I assume.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, but anyway, we've gotten way off track.
As usual.
So I think that means we're done. Unless you had anything else you wanted to share.
No, I mean we went over home. What else did I text you? I don't think I feel like that's everything. I had forgotten about Homie the Clown.
Of course, we got the regular thing. Same stuff everybody else has. You got your Bloody Mary and your fucking whatever else people have. Just little things that you grew up with that everybody kind of knew about.
Sure.
Everybody's got a crybaby bridge in every town, everywhere. Like I mean, what what kind of stories did you guys grow up with? Maybe you had something really specific to your family, that nobody else really followed, or Pat's apparently done. He's playing music already, so.
That's not true. Stop it.
Wow, 4 and into death. Anyway, let us know. What kind of things did you guys grow up with? Did you grow up with, what about Resurrection Mary? You guys got Resurrection Mary where you're from?
Nope, just in Chicago.
Just
Stop with that shit.
Did you have Homie the Clown? What do you got a witch's tower in your town? Let us know. 773-59-WEIRD. But, okay. All right then. Well, we'll see you guys here next Wednesday.